Meet Gabe, a multifaceted artist from Panama. From painting, sketching, curating, Gabe has his hands in many different art forms. He even recently has gotten into filmmaking. We talk all about his ambitions, creative process, and life in this episode of Convos with Aaron. Thank you, Gabe, again for being on. I appreciate it. Thank you for your creative ability that you bring to our community in Columbia and Tennessee in general.
Sure,
like you were doing, you had a little exhibit a couple months
Yeah.
ago, and you were drawing something, and then you were adding the sound in digitally. How did that work?
So kind of the way that I did the Foley video process was Bill kind of took over the visual part of it, and I kind of took over the audio part. And I was like consciously thinking like, there should be a sound here. We should have some footsteps. We should have something clicking, like looking for sounds to like make noise, you know? So yeah, like looking at it like that really does kind of change a little bit the way to approach a project like that.
I can imagine too, and working and collaborating, how special is that to you when you get to collaborate with somebody else in art? Like, is that just like an explosion of creativity, I can imagine?
So that's kind of what I like a lot about video. It's a lot more collaborative. You have to go out there and talk to people, but really painting, it's really my world.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to let somebody into your world.
That makes sense.
Especially like if you're so in control of your art. It's hard to let somebody into your space like that. But the times that I have collaborated with friends like that, we are consciously making a piece together. It's super interesting because you're trying not to overstep. You're trying to kind of have a balance of both things, but really like it happens naturally. You kind of go to where you're good at. Somebody's very better at designing letters, somebody's better at designing a character, somebody's better at designing a background, and you kind of just go towards what you're better at. And that's kind of how collaborations usually go. Like how can we sync our ideas together? And then, okay, you kind of do your thing over there, I'll do my thing over here.
Yeah, that makes sense. And a part of you probably has to be humble in that moment too, like you were saying. And sometimes you have to let go of control when it comes to that.
You do, and really like that's the fun part. Because if you're going into a collab thinking like it's gonna be what you want, like you're already like starting off wrong. It should be super open. And like whatever other people create, like if they're having fun making it, you know, like who cares like what it looks like? It's just like we had this experience together of making this, and that was awesome.
And I say I can relate to that too, because when I had my podcast in high school, it was so much more fun from the production side to have three people to just bounce ideas off of. And at times, especially younger me too, I was a lot more fiery about certain opinions I had about things, which I'm sure, I hope they could say the same, but it's something that I've learned to no, collaboration is such a brilliant thing. It's like two minds mashing together and creating something that you never would have been able to create by yourself sometimes. And there's power in that.
And really, like going out and painting in the streets and like doing murals with friends, it's really about the experience of going out and doing stuff. Once I'm in the studio, it's definitely more me focused on what I'm doing. But going out with painting and with videos, definitely got to get people involved.
Yeah, it's such an important part of just your creative skill and thinking. Now, obviously, there's so much power in creating your own self and pouring your heart into something. But also, you know, there's times where we've been created to do that. I feel like, and I've had this experience too, where if I'm locked in my room for so long that I'm starting to feel bad, a lot of times it's just because I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And
true.
that expands even more so through creativity and past just your soul and just, just trying to sorry, that is bad. I hit a dead end, and sometimes when I hit dead ends, I freak out and stop talking. And I realize in editing this stuff.
No problem. But like on the flip side
Yeah.
of what kind of you're saying, I've worked on projects with other people, and it's hard too, like,
Yeah.
because as a creative, you kind of want your vision to come through, and some people have to say something,
Yeah.
like they have to get something in,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like it's hard to, and really the important part is knowing who to work with.
That's a good point.
That's
a
really
good
the
point.
most
Yeah.
important part, because there are creative egos. People
Yes.
do clash.
Yeah.
And that happens, you kind of have to sometimes figure out a way to deal with that. People always want to have their creative input so that they can feel that they had something to do with it. And actually, I was thinking that some tricks that designers do with that is that they'll include something that's like out of place or kind of ugly in like the final design, just so that like final person that has to kind of like review your stuff or whatever is like, you should take that out. You already kind of knew that they
Yeah.
had to do that, so it's just so that they have that little input. So yeah, look who do you want to work with, and
That's a good point.
yeah, figure that out
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Definitely trying and testing if you're good to work with this person
Yeah.
is such an important part of a creative process. Like you're saying, if you're ever paired up with somebody or you're trying to work with somebody, is making sure, are we compatible as artists? We could be compatible as friends, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're great at creating with each other. I can totally see that.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Definitely. That's kind of what, like, the project that I'm doing kind of on the side now, which is Letra por Letra. Really, I'm like the main guy behind that project, but I choose to look for friends to collaborate like on smaller projects through that, but really the final choices, decisions of stuff, like I'm really the one that's making those, because I have had that creative ego clash with other people, and being an artist, you have a super clear vision of what you want, so that's kind of how I've been doing it. It's like I do collaborate a lot with people through the project, but the final cut of stuff, like it's kind of through me.
And talking a little bit about that larger project, what exactly does that entail? What are you planning for
Yeah,
that?
so Letra por Letra started a few years ago, and it's started as just documenting my friends going out and doing graffiti and like urban art scene, and that kind of grew into like this kind of brand, I guess, just documenting the art scene. And really the goal with that is to just create this platform to have other artists on there and put their art up there. And there's a couple of ideas that are I'm actually working on that right now. There's something coming up. Hopefully by the time this podcast is out, actually it'll be going, but I don't even want to say it, man.
We can edit it out if it's not important, if it's not ready yet.
Okay, I'm working on a magazine.
Congratulations!
So thank you, man. So hopefully that'll be printed out. It's already set. I kind of just have to go print it. So hopefully, that'll be out sometime in the next couple of weeks.
That's congratulations.
Thank you. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying of like getting your work out there. Instagram isn't the final place where art goes, or YouTube. There's other places. And it's about looking for those creative outlets. Like for me, it's like I want to show other people's work that I've documented, and like I went to an art store looking for an art magazine that I wanted to read, and I couldn't find one. Like I went to like 4 or 5 local art stores. none of them had like even like an art magazine, you know? And I was like, I need to do something that I want to read.
Yeah,
you know, and I want to make. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of projects kind of are born like that. Like there was nobody documenting really the art scene in Panama at that point, especially the graffiti art scene. And I kind of wanted to document it not from the outside perspective, but from the inside.
Because that's crucial to the message that you're trying to share in general, because you want it to formulate it in order to be just as what you created it to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You want to be able to have that control a little bit of, okay, what does this mean, and what is the public going to know about it when it gets published? Is that?
Yeah, because I mean, graffiti and sometimes it's not looked at in like the best way. You are kind of going and vandalizing other people's property. So that's kind of where I wanted to change that perspective and have that control that you're talking about. It's like, let's switch this up a bit and show people that there is an art to this. There is a science. Like, we're organized. We are actually. This isn't a random. Just like, I'm gonna go paint this just because I feel like it. No, like that's kind of what I wanted to do. Yeah, just show the people our side of it.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
And kind of like what you're doing. I don't know. You're going out there documenting and recording the scene. You know, like how does it feel to like meet all these new interesting people, man?
It is crazy. I think it is legitimately crazy. Like I said before we shot anything, I said it feels like it's been 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but it's only been one technically or whatever. And to meet all these cool people and to really dive into their brain and think about, what are you thinking about? What are you at right now in this stage of your craft? And
so how did that kind of start? Because like you hit me up, but I like, where did Convos with Aaron come out of? Like, why do you want to talk to creative people?
I've always loved talking to people. I feel like it's my calling. I think getting better and better at it is something I want to do, and I wasn't able to do that doing nothing, like I was talking about at the beginning. I was just consuming, and I said, I know I have a purpose. I know my purpose is to document and to create stuff that people want to watch. I love to tell stories in different sort of formats. But this came about around 4 years ago, actually. It came about 4 years ago of an idea of, I want to talk to people. And originally it was going to manifest itself in maybe a talk show for NTSU. But I wanted to take some time and be honest with myself and say, I'm not really ready right now. Mature-wise, I'm not ready to talk with people. I'm not ready to listen because I'm not listening as much as I need to. And so growing and maturing and giving myself time to mature and to listen to people and practice to listen to people is something that I wanted to be sure of before starting anything like this. So that's why I'm doing it now. I feel like I'm ready where I'm not at all at my peak. But I want to build there. And I think the next step was to create something. And I wanted to get my image out there as somebody who creates and who tells other people's stories, and you know, my story along the way. I think that's the beauty of this. And
it really is. Like, I started posting on YouTube about like, you could check back on there, but probably like 8-9 years ago. Like my first YouTube video that I posted, it was just me documenting my friends. You know, that's just like how it started. And slowly, like, I'm so glad I was doing that, because like now I can look back at those videos and like, I don't know, it's just crazy to see yourself and like be able to realize, hey, you put in the work, you edited all this stuff, you know. So dude, even like these projects, you never know where they're gonna end up, what's gonna happen, but you're documenting yourself, and in like 20-30 years, dude, you're gonna look back and you're gonna be so happy that you did this. Just like like just being able to look back and being able to document your stuff. I think that's super important.
I appreciate you saying that too, because it is important whatever you're doing in life. And we're not here for forever. And I think putting your stamp on the world, whatever that looks like, is important. And I think that's the ultimate I'd say that's the ultimate purpose for a lot of us, especially creatives and artists.
Yeah.
Our goal is to make an impact, even if that means in one person's life. Even if that means them looking at your art 100 years from now.
You never know who you're gonna impact.
No, for sure.
Never,
yeah.
and like, dude, I'm out there looking at all types of art, like everything. There's inspiration everywhere, dude. So you really never know who's looking at your stuff too. Like, it can be anybody.
It could be anybody, and also taking on. And this is another question I'm going to ask: when do you think you're going to be able to, or if you're already doing it now, to become sort of that mentor? Do you see yourself ever doing that in the future, or now, or what does that look like?
So kind of like what I was saying, how like I started was a lot of my friends kind of guiding me.
Yeah.
There is a point where you have to kind of take that role on, and that's kind of also the part of getting involved in the community and especially the art scene. There's new artists out there that are constantly wanting to talk to you and just like go into your studio just to see how to do it, you know?
That is something that you most of the time probably, and I know that I'm speaking from personal experience, I don't really recognize in the moment, and I'm doing it when I'm like telling somebody, like I lead the tech team or part of the tech team at my church. And there's a bunch of 15, 16, 17-year-olds that are really just now getting into their craft.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to covering the service, but then also taking pictures during church camp or whatever. Just really being hands-on with their craft and realizing I'm helping them through that.
Yeah.
I slowly started to realize that.
So I think when we're talking about mentoring, there's like kind of two ways that I guess I kind of have been doing that. One, definitely like doing my first like art classes to students, and that really opens your mind to like, how am I going to teach this? Like, how do you organize this to teach, you know? And that in that process you learn a lot. And then the other way of mentoring that I've kind of also been doing is, especially with the students at Columbia State, is just through your life, you know, what you've done through, I guess, even since you started recording and getting into media, like just that experience, you know, there's a lot to learn. Even if there's like some bad choices that were made, some good ones, you know, like there's learning from all of that. So just through what I've been through, I guess, and passing that on also, dude, you get to kind of mentor in that way.
Yeah, it's special too. But going on to what we were talking about, I'm curious. When you're talking about films in 10 years, because that caught me. And when I'm talking with people, I like to sort of catch things and stash in my brain to ask in a little bit.
Yeah.
But what films are you wanting to make? What are you thinking of? Like, what is your idea for a film right now?
So a lot of this kind of started through like documentary work.
Yeah.
Trying to like document the graffiti scene. And that's kind of like what's happening in the moment, and you're not really so much in control of that. So I'm looking to create something where I can be more in control of the story. First, my mind always just goes like documentary mode. I don't know why. So like the first kind of idea that I've always had was filming my grandmother's house and just documenting her whole setup there, which is just crazy. But through that, there's just a lot of like independent films that I like the weird stuff. Like definitely not the blockbuster Hollywood things. Like I really enjoy visually stunning things. So yeah, I don't know. Like I was just watching, let me see. This might take a second.
No, you're good. Take your time.
Oh no, actually, you know what movie I was just watching that is beautiful is Nacho Libre.
Oh, yes.
Dude, go back and watch that. Look at how they color grade everything. Look at how they shoot, like the sets are like built, you know, like everything is just so great. And I don't know, I'm just looking for something that I can just be in control of, you know, like everything.
Yeah. Because that's at the highest testing of your creative ability especially as a director and a producer and a writer, is you have to pull these things together.
Yeah.
Because you're not no longer in charge of just one thing. It's similar to painting in that you have to kind of pull these inspirations and make your own thing from essentially your own blank canvas.
And like building a story is so hard. Like now that I'm getting more involved in YouTube, like I really do consider those like 7-minute, 5-minute videos films because like I really do put in so much work, like writing out the stuff. So one of the things I was just listening to a YouTuber talk about is if you kind of add up all those minutes at the end of the year of all your videos, you're kind of making like 2-3 movies a year. If you kind of look at that, at it that way. So, I mean, I'm kind of already trying to go into that filmmaker role, but I guess in the future would just kind of take that, make it just bigger, you know?
Well, and I see what you're saying in your videos. I see that, and I recognize that too, because, and I'm going to be honest, not everybody has that, and that's a sad truth that I think people have to find for themselves, is when you're talking about a craft and you're making it, of course you can repeatedly do it, and a lot of times you're able to learn that way and you're able to grow that way. But I think sometimes it gets to a point where some people have it and some people don't.
Yeah.
I've felt that in my own different ways. Like painting, I wish I was fantastic at painting. But I don't think that's for me. And I've been okay with that. And if I had more ambition, I'm sure I could learn.
Yeah.
But still, I've recognized in a way that I don't have that ability, whatever that is, to formulate a photo or a picture or something with painting. But what I learned is I can do that through other ways.
Yeah.
My art is through video and through photo. That's my art, and that's where I've learned that I'm able to articulate myself fantastically. Or I say fantastically, as good as I can.
Yeah.
Maybe. But going into films too, where would you rank? Would you rank films as being like the top of the top when it comes to art? Where would you rank films?
I would definitely rank it right up there. Painting is a close second.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, but actually, no, I take that back. Sculpture. Sculpture might be a close second.
That's a great point. I think.
Yeah, that's just like the sum of so many things too, like drawing, painting, materials, you know, it's just sculpture is super hard.
That's excellent. I didn't even think about that because that makes so much sense. You're talking about like the David statue, right?
Yeah.
That's literally stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It's going to be in every textbook until we are long gone. And that's a really good...
another art that I would have put up there also is tattoo art.
Okay, yeah.
Just because it's the weirdest, what is it? The weirdest, like, medium that... No, it's the weirdest canvas, I guess, to work on. It's somebody that's living. There's different types of skins, the way to apply the colors, the machines. There's a lot that's involved in that too. So yeah, I mean, all of them have to be a master in just one of these things, you have to put in the time, you know, all of them. Even if it's like, I don't know, dude, just like glass work or anything, you have to put in the work. But these specifically, I don't know why. For me, I feel like it just encompasses so much, you know? Yeah.
That's a great point too. And you could tell too, you're having fun. Even when I'm talking with people too, everybody that I've had on so far, when they get to talking about it, they have a certain way of themselves and the way they talk about it. Because as we keep going, you get more and more excited and you can visually see that. Although you're always a very bubbly and exciting person, you could see the excitement of your art and what you're talking about, what you have planned, like your project that you're about to do.
Yeah.
That's something that you could see and that you live for.
And honestly, like, not creating, there's something weird starts happening in my body. I start feeling weird. Like, I kind of just have to do it. Yeah. And I don't know, dude. Like, how do you, like, when did you start recording and getting more into the visual arts?
I started doing visual art stuff when I started watching Well, no, I don't know. I've always been enjoying it. Like as a kid,
Yeah.
there's still videos out there of me as a kid filming on YouTube.
No.
And I would consume YouTube like people consume shows.
That's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm at right now, dude. Like I spend a lot of time
Yeah.
on YouTube and it's really like for very specific things like it started with like painting stuff, then it moved on to like pastels.
Yeah.
And like now I'm looking at a lot of like how to build stuff, how to restore things, and YouTube has become just like this great library of information for me, really.
I think when you're looking at the Industrial Revolution of the 1900s or whatever, I think YouTube and platforms like that and social media, although there's negative connotations to them,
Yeah.
I think that's our revolution. I think
Really?
is being able to document on a scale where everybody can theoretically document.
Yeah, so that's also kind of like why it's so hard to figure out what's your visual language,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
everybody is doing videos, you're constantly consuming that all day. So you're trying to figure out like how can I show this, you know, and not be like everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult, man. It's super hard.
It's super hard. It is. It's a constant struggle, but that's what makes it fun too. If it was easy, and that's what I'm worried about too with AI, and I want to talk to you about that too.
Yeah.
That's cliche to talk about that. Yeah. But we're gonna make it work, and we're gonna talk about some things that I think are unique about it. But to talk about that, I feel like my fear with AI overall, more so than just stealing people's artwork, is it's going to remove the tediousness of art. And that's where a lot of times, at least for me, I find myself, like you're saying, when you're molding it, you don't really get that when you're talking about AI. Maybe in prompts and constantly evolving your prompt, but when we're talking about AI, how do you feel about that? It's so talked about, so almost too much now.
Yeah. I mean, it can definitely be used as a tool, but you can start depending on it a lot. But honestly, AI isn't really creating new stuff. It's kind of like building on top of like what everybody has already made and mashing everything together and kind of doing its own thing with all information that's already out there. So it's not really like this divine thing that's creating it from nowhere, from scratch. Like it's building off human emotions and thoughts. So really what I think is gonna end up happening is we're gonna be living in a world where where human made will be a lot more emphasized and appreciated. Like anything machine made or robot made will definitely have its value, but knowing that something is handmade will always have a higher value, I think, now and just like in the future in general, I think.
And you have a great point when you're talking about that too. A good example of that would be lab grown diamonds.
Yeah.
Diamonds, now real diamonds that are pulled from the earth are so much more valuable now.
Wow.
And that's just because it's the quality of it is, and that might be a little bit different when we're talking about art, but the quality of the diamond is almost identical. Yeah. But what makes it different is the effort was made to create that and to shape it and to pull it out of the ground.
So the way I would also kind of relate that to art would be sign painting. So sign painting is this super like handmade thing, you know. You can obviously go get your sign printed and you can get it huge, 20 feet, and it'll look really nice. But there's something about it being hand painted, and there's some shakiness in the lines, and that human shakiness and the weirdness of it, that's what's gonna be super important in the future.
I really appreciate that. And that perspective is something that I think a lot of people forget about because they're so entrenched in the negativity of it. But I'd say that's much more of a neutral stance on it. I think you're essentially saying it's going to exist whether we like it or not.
There's some stuff out there that looks good, and people are going to go for the cheaper route sometimes, like For murals, I've seen there's already like this kind of robot printer that you kind of put on the wall, and it like will go up and down. It kind of just paints the mural for you.
Yeah.
People will definitely go for that sometimes, but they're knowing that it was made by a human.
Yeah.
You know, like there's an added value to that.
Well, and also one more thing I'm going to relate it to, I feel like, is the idea, and we talked to Darren about this, with products. You talk about knives, right? I asked him, what is the difference between a knife that's you order on Amazon that's made in China and a knife that you make? And he answered it so beautifully and so well. He said, you know, there's certain things that, I'm paraphrasing to the nth degree. I'm not at all. This is not at all what he said. But the essentially,
go back to the Darren podcast and check it out.
Yeah, episode 2. It's 2 episodes from now. But essentially, what he said was, there's just a quality difference a lot of times, and you're going to be able to get so much more enjoyment because you know that it was handcrafted, and your knife looks different from everybody else's knife.
Yeah, exactly. There's no tool like, yeah.
Yeah. And paintings, I can imagine it's the same exact thing. Absolutely, you know.
So actually, even crazier, like when you make prints, you're kind of like carving out this mat and then laying the paper on there and getting the ink on there, and that's how you kind of make a print. And before actually doing one myself, I kind of thought of it as something kind of like that, like, this is something that you can make a lot of, but none of them are alike. Yeah. Once you carve your mat out and you put the ink on, like how it hits the ink will never be the same. Just there's little differences in all these little things. So yeah, like knowing that you have something that nobody else has, I think that's super valuable.
And it's beautiful too, because you can not only recognize the actual thing that you're celebrating, but you recognize the person that made it, which, like I was saying, it long lives us.
Yes.
That energy, whatever it is, it long lives us.
Yeah, so last weekend I was just making that the zine with my aunt, and I mean, we could have done it digitally, and I guess it could have worked that way too, but we decided to sit at the table, cut stuff out, put it there, and I'll have that book forever. Like, and nobody can have that book. Like, I'll probably scan it and print some out so other people can have copies. But that book is my book, you know. And I'll probably keep it like in my little nightstand, and it's special to me. And yeah, definitely knowing that she was involved too, you know, makes it super special to me.
You have emotion attached to it, and also the memory of making it. And it's also a physical thing you can touch. Working so much in digital and video.
So, and really, that's where the magazine thing is coming from, because there's so much lost in the digital, you know, like you want something physical. Yeah.
And like I said, there's emotion attached to it. And also, it just feels different when you have something digital. I mean, that's why I thought was funny about the NFT thing. There's so much people are trying to attach things to it, and it's digital, so there's certain parts it's just not going to be able to attach anything to. Yeah. But when you're talking about something physical, something in your brain picks that up and witnesses it so much differently. When I design a shirt, and I like to design shirts, I don't really release them because it's a little bit harder to produce a shirt that's printed that looks nice, and I could do it there's so many ways to do it.
Yeah, so I actually learned this term recently. It's called bricolage, and basically what it is, it's like building something with the materials that you already have.
That's a good point.
So I think that's something that's really cool to do, where you kind of like, instead of throwing stuff out and buying something new, like fix it, you know, and like get something weird and I don't know, like make stuff work together. But yeah.
That's really cool. It's human resourcefulness. And as an artist, I can imagine you have to have that skill.
True. Yeah, dude, you really do. And especially like since I've moved here, my grandmother's a bit of a hoarder, a little bit. So there's so much stuff here to work with, and it's all, and that's kind of what I've been trying to adopt more in the studio is building more. Instead of painting and drawing, I want to like use the drill, you know, cut stuff up. And that's kind of what I studied originally is industrial design, which is kind of making products and building them like to mass scale, you know, and selling them. But I kind of don't want to focus on making it for the masses. I just like the product developing side of it and kind of making my own little gadgets stuff. Yeah.
It makes your brain think.
Yeah, it really does, man. Like, and going to, like these older items that are still around that are kind of beat up. I mean, they have been here for like 40 years, you know, they lasted, they're kind of beat up but they made it, you know? So like, they're good. Just fix them up a bit and they'll probably last you another 50 years, you know?
For sure, resourcefulness is something that we have to remind ourselves of, especially in a world of Amazon, where one click away you can buy something completely new.
Yeah, but being resourceful is also being organized. I have fun.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
To kind of come out because like my aunt says like unless you know where it is, you don't have it. You know, so like you can have a bunch of stuff laying around, but if you don't know where it's located, how you can use it, it's you practically like it's like you don't really have it, you know. Yeah. And it's a constant battle for me organizing. Like I am not good at organizing, and I'm constantly losing stuff, and I'm trying to have a system. And that time of where you're looking for something, it's like you're losing so much creative energy just looking for that, because it's all these tools are basically extensions of your arm, you know. So not having something available or ready when you need it, it's just like your arm has been chopped off, man. You can't do what you need to do because you don't have the right materials or you don't know where they are. Yeah. So yeah, be resourceful, but know where your stuff is.
For sure. Well, is there anything that else you would like to highlight or talk about a little bit? Because I know you talked about the magazine that you have coming out.
Yeah.
You talked about your ambitions for film and creating more videos. Is there anything else that you're into at the moment?
I think the one other thing would be comic books. Have been getting a lot into comic book art. Kind of the whole visual storytelling. I think that would be the other art that I would put up there with like directing a movie. I think that would be the second one, actually. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just visually, you're so in control and you just don't know where it can go. So yeah, comic books have been a big influence. Have been reading Monster by Barry Windsor Smith. Have been reading like a new X-Men series that came out. So comic books also a pretty cool new medium that I've been kind of getting into.
That makes a lot of sense too. I can.
Yeah. Storytelling, drawing, art. It gets to be a lot. So starting with video for now. Slowly jumping into that.
And it's cool too that you're thinking about it where it's like, all right, I need to do this and then I need to do this and I'm finding ways to make this right, and then I can tell you're okay with it evolving into something else.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive too.
Dude, thank you. You know, just being creative is just about exploring new mediums, and your style will come out in anything that you do. It's just about kind of going out there and testing new stuff. So yeah, it's always fun to do that.
It's fantastic. And I think if you're right, we'll end it there. I think we've said what we want to say, and then also I would love to have you back too. For whatever, and if you're ever planning an event too, just let me know. We can have a conversation.
Yes.
Diving a little bit more deep into that specific thing. Yeah. But I think this is a great introduction to you, and like I said, I would love to have you on again.
Dude, thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor, and you put a lot of hard work into this, and I hope to see you grow also on YouTube.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's the goal. And speaking of that, subscribe. We would love for you to subscribe.
Yes, subscribe. Convos with Aaron.
That's right. And like and share so we can have more guests on. And speaking of more guests, if you know somebody or you would like to be a guest yourself, you can be a guest. You can submit your request at convoswithaaron@gmail.com, and we can have some dialogue there of planning and what that looks like. But we would love to have you on. So thank you. Subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. And doing some shameless plug-in also. Studio Tats. Check it out on YouTube.
Very nice.
Dude, awesome, man.
That was horrible. Hold on. Oh, that was horrible. Hold on. There we go. Whoa, beautiful. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Dude, thank you.